First meeting of his new Texas Safety Commission in Austin. It includes political, law enforcement, and mental health leaders. The commission was formed after the El Paso Walmart shooting that left 22 people dead and more than 24 injured. He says the commission has goals to make Texas a safer place.
They include combating threats of domestic terrorism. They include rooting out hateful ideologies. And they include keeping guns out of the hands of deranged individuals, while at the very same time making sure that we can do so in a way that safeguards Second Amendment rights.
The commission also met with executives from Google, Facebook, and Twitter. They're looking for ways to crack down on social media, sometimes used by violent extremist groups. One of the people who was part of that meeting, psychologist Dr. Susan Fletcher. Are you encouraged by the tone of the, it was a big group, it was a meeting that went on longer than anticipated. Were you encouraged by the tone of what you heard?
I was very encouraged by the tone. There was a lot of engagement by everybody that was at that table. And the other thing that was great is it was focused on solutions, not fault.
I suspect you're not a gun person. I'm just going to take a wild guess that you're not a gun person, but a lot of people here in Texas are. And there's a concern about balancing the rights of law-abiding gun owners for recreational or sporting purposes, as well as keeping guns out of the hands of people who should not have them.
That's correct. It was very well represented that we have to look at all sides of the issue. And I think that's the important thing to do, and that's what the citizens would require.
The governor used the term keeping guns out of the hands of deranged individuals. President Trump has talked about reopening mental hospitals to put sick people in there. As a mental health professional, do those kinds of terms bother you?
Yeah, they disturb me. Those aren't terms that I use frequently in my clinical practice or even related to community events. And it also contributes to information that's really not accurate. Less than 5% of shooters have diagnosable mental health issues. So our instinct is to believe that it's related to mental illness, and I'm not saying it's not totally, but it's a lot of variables.
Yeah, and there are conflicting studies on that. There's another study, the 5% I've seen, there's another study that says 22% of those involved in mass shootings. It is a factor, but you're saying it's not an overwhelming factor that a lot of politicians would like to portray it.
Correct. It's not the primary factor, because what we know is that hate, racism, the lone domestic terrorist, that's really what the threat is among all the evidence that we see, because we have to look at the evidence. We have to look at facts, and it's really hard to take emotion out of it, but we have to look at what we're learning from all of these incidents that occur.
Another easy place to blame is video games. Do you blame video games for mass shootings?
No. No. No, and for a variety of reasons. Is that when you look at the numbers, when you look at what's occurring, it's access to guns, it's hate, it's acting out behavior, it's a community of people that all want to see populations dealt with in a negative, hatred-focused manner.
Yeah, you've seen some encouraging signs in the last couple of weeks. We had about a dozen arrests across the country of people who were considered to be dangerous, who may have been plotting something. Finally, it seems like people are not just saying, he's a nut, or gosh, he's dangerous, and they're doing something, and police are reacting as well.
Correct, and that's one of the things that came out of the meeting yesterday is that see something, say something campaign. Mm-hmm. It's working. We have to add more, what do we do when we see something to say something? We have to do a better job of threat assessments, and I think that's happening for the state of Texas.
Right, and police are as well in the FBI.
Correct.
Yes, yeah. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.